What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here, back again. Tonight I'd like to do something a little bit different. Hopefully bring something a little different to the table. I know a lot of people are doing 31 Days of Halloween. I have not been able to keep up with that pace, certainly, but hopefully tonight I can bring to your attention some films you might not be familiar with, some made-for-TV horror. And this video is inspired by the Made-for-TV Mayhem Instagram page, which is operated by Amanda Reyes, okay, who's also edited and is one of the writers in this TV movie compendium, Are You in the House Alone? She also does commentary, and she also has done commentary on several made-for-TV movies. So I'm looking forward to rewatching some of those. I'll have to grab my Televised Terror set and show you guys. But I haven't rewatched any of these with commentary yet, so I'm looking forward to doing that. At any rate, on that Instagram page, the Made-for-TV Mayhem page, she is counting down 100 scary moments from made-for-TV movies. So she has like 3 a day, usually. And it's rare that there's like all 3 movies where I haven't at least seen one of them. But, you know, she's brought a lot of really good ones to my attention. So tonight I'd like to briefly discuss 3 of them. And we'll start with one. 2 of them are in her book here, in the book. We'll start with one that I watched on Tubi, and it is called Born Innocent with Linda Blair. Linda Blair has no pals in this pen. Linda Blair learns about life the hard way behind bars. About life the hard way? Okay. Is that worded funny? It's just me. Anyway. Yes, tawdry. That's kind of you know, a lot of the advertising for some of these movies back then was really kind of questionable. A little creepy. Anyway, yeah, this was a, you know, a real life horror movie, really. I mean, this is a very kind of horrific movie. A 14-year-old runaway is made a ward of the courts and placed in a reform school, where she must confront verbal and physical abuse. Yes, this was a tough one. This is a well-made film, a well-acted film. Linda Blair is very good in this. So this is before she got into her adult phase, where she was making, I always forget the name of that prison movie. You know, movies like Hell Night and some of those Savage Streets, maybe. Was that it? You know, so I believe this is a year after The Exorcist, and she is very good. I mean, she's Chained Heat. There you go. Okay, so anyway, yeah, this is a tough one. This is about the phenomenon of teenage runaways, and it basically starts with Linda Blair's character getting picked up. She's sent to jail overnight. And then they ship her to this reform school, and she has to adjust. And there's a counselor there that is very sympathetic to her and thinks, you know, she's actually a pretty good girl. And then there's also like a house matron who's there, who's a little sterner, you know. What I like about it is they didn't make her into an absolute villain, you know. I mean, she actually has a back and forth with the teacher, where she says, you know, you just come in and teach for a few hours a day. I'm with these girls, you know, 24 hours a day. And, you know, back in the day, they used to whip these girls. And I was the one that stood in front of them and stopped it. And yet she does, you know, these girls do get under her skin. I mean, she does, like, snap at them. At any rate, you know, Linda Blair comes into this reform school setting. She makes some friends. She attracts some animosity. And not long into the film, there is a pretty surprisingly graphic and shocking rape scene that was later cut out of subsequent showings on television, but was put back in for video releases. And, you know, she is underage, so she's wearing a towel, and you don't... It's done in a way that is still pretty horrific, though. She's raped with an implement, and it's, you know, so it's other girls, and it's pretty shocking. and then it becomes like a she said versus the other girls, and back and forth. And at any rate, we kind of learn about some of the girls. There's like a parents' visitation day, and like it's really sad because one of the girls is like delusional. She's like, my mom's coming. And the house matron's like, no, your mom lives too far away. And she's like, no, she's really coming. She's like delusional. And then there's another girl, Linda Blair's friend, Josie, who she'd met earlier in when she was locked up overnight in jail. She doesn't want to go home at all because her mom has turned her out into prostitution, and she's afraid she'll do it again. So it's like really, it's just like shocking, you know. Eventually, she is granted a leave. She goes home, and at first, her dad is kind of friendly, and it's a little awkward. But he's played by Richard Jekyll. You know, I'm a fan from way back, you know, to the Dirty Dozen days. And the mom drinks a lot, played by Kim Hunter. She just kind of drinks herself into oblivion. She's got an older brother who's moved away, has a little baby of his own now. He's not a big fan of the dad, so he's moved away. And, you know, it seems to be going well, but then she goes to a friend's house and she comes home and dad snaps at her and makes a very awkward comment about the tightness of her jeans and then gives her a smack. So, you know, she runs away again. And basically, we just follow sort of her progression at the school, and some of the girls sort of rally around her. And then there's another young lady in there who is pregnant, who confides with the Linda Blair character, and she decides to have the baby, and there's a baby shower, and it seems to be that the girls are kind of coalescing a little bit more. But then, you know, it's not going to be an entirely happy ending in a movie like this. And it's overall, it's a very solid movie. If you're a fan of Linda Blair, I would definitely check it out. But, you know, like I said, it is a little surprisingly graphic, that one scene. And then, you know, it's a grim movie. It's not a happy film. Okay, the next film is kind of a sillier one. I mean, a couple pages later. Now, I've also been following Dr. Gangrene's Wheels of Death countdown on YouTube, where he's been, oh, here we go, where he's been talking about, you know, movies like The Ambulance and Duel and, you know, things along YouTube, where he's been, oh, here we go, where he's been talking about, you know, movies like The Ambulance and Duel and, you know, things along those lines. He hasn't gotten to this one yet. He might. I'll be curious to see if he picks this one up. Okay, Death Car on the Freeway, directed by Hal Needham. Yes, that Hal Needham of, you know, Smokey and the Bandit fame, the Cannonball Run. It stars Shelley Hack. It's got a lot of people that were billed as guest stars. Peter Graves, Frank Gorshin, Abe Vigoda, Dinah Shore. George Hamilton plays her ex-husband. And basically what you have is the story of a crazed driver who drives a van, who's later becomes known as the Fiddler because he plays this weird mashup of, like, I thought it was like creepy, weird electronic music at first, but I guess it's like supposed to be like bluegrass music or a fiddle like sped up. It's an odd choice. I don't know. But he plays that, and so some of the girls and it's always like females, that he harasses on the highway say that they heard it, so he gets the name the Fiddler. And his modus operandi is sort of to wait for someone to pull in front of him or cut him off, and then he will try to then run them off the road. And you know, there's some close calls, and eventually there are some fatalities. And this young reporter, played by Shelley Hack, thinks that she sees a pattern, and she's not really believed by anybody. And this movie has, remember, this is what, 1979. So, you know, the sort of the woman's lib movement, women's liberation, women's rights movement was still going on. So she's kind of asserting herself. You know, she's asking her husband, who she's separated from and who works for another station. She's a reporter. I don't know if I mentioned that. For help, but he's kind of almost like jealous of her success. And the police detective is a little bit condescending. And to be fair, there's another anchor, senior anchor, who is a female, a woman at the station, who is a little rough on her too. You know, she's like, "Oh, you wore a little too much lipstick last night on TV." So anyway, she's trying to establish that this is a pattern and that there's an actual killer on the loose. And it's basically about her efforts in that regard. And it's a little weird. There's some really pretty good action sequences up front. It starts off with just some casual views of the highway, and then it switches into gear, so to speak. And this van is running people off the road. And it's pretty cool because some of the shots are really good. You'll see like a shot of the driver, and then through the back windshield you can see the van closing in. There's some overhead shots that kind of correspond with what what is going on the highway, and all the other cars around them seem to be moving at a pretty good rate of speed too. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but like you watch reruns of Chips, all the cars in the background are going like 30 miles an hour. But so this is Hal Needham. This was his specialty. There's one crazy stunt where the van tries to get away and it runs off the road, and there's this hill, and he runs down to another part of the highway, and it's very steep. And I was amazed at how fast this van jumped off of this hill and then barreled down it. It's pretty good stunt work. Later, she closes in on the bad guy. She gets a tip from like a car club. She goes there, and it's a very long, drawn out scene. She's kind of leered at by these guys, and the guy that saw her is played by Sid Haig. So it was kind of cool to see him, and he's like, "Oh, I never liked that guy." So then they close in on him, and then there's one last brief final chase, which ends with a crazy stunt that it's like, I guess Hal Needham was like, "We need some explosions." So, I mean, it's kind of a fun movie, maybe a little silly in parts. I don't know. I did enjoy it, though. I mean, the whole thing with the fiddle music was weird. Anyway, I'll be right back with a review of the third film. Okay, here's the Televised Terror Volume 1 set that I mentioned. Amanda Reyes does the commentary on all three of these films. So I've watched all three of these, but I haven't rewatched them with the commentary yet, so I'm looking forward to doing that. This is Volume 1. Hopefully Volume 2 is coming out soon. And the third film, however, it's surprisingly not actually in the book, at least not that I saw it. It's called Night Cries. This was a fun one. I kind of enjoyed it. Kind of very indicative and representative of the times regarding the filmmaking style. In other words, there are dream sequences, a lot of dreams and dream sequences in this. And actually, this film here, that's a young Elijah Wood. I don't think he has dreams, but he's trying to, Child in the Night, he's trying to remember, like, suppressed memories. And it's kind of similar. They do this thing. There's lots of blurriness and slow motion. It's very, very kind of quaint. At any rate, I did enjoy it, however. And it basically involves a story of a young couple played by Susan St. James and Michael Parks, who, of course, would show up later in movies like Kill Bill and We Are What We Are. They're trying to have a baby. They're trying to deliver a baby at the hospital, and the worst possible thing apparently happens. The baby does not survive. And the wife is, of course, shattered by this, but she begins to have some strange dreams about the baby and the hospital experience. And she just can't let go of it, and it's really creating a lot of friction between her and her husband. And somehow, one way or another, she eventually, the couple become aware of a scientist played by William Conrad, who's a specialist in dreams. So she goes to him for help. And, you get a nice little primer on dreams and REM sleep and things from William Conrad, who's great. He always has this sort of intensity about him. Great voice. It's just got this, nice, deep, sonorous voice. And so he helps her, and basically she also has some suppressed memories, it turns out, so he kind of helps her deal with that. But then she's like, would I be able to dream about things that I've never seen before, and is it possible those things are true? And that's kind of like where he and her husband are drawing the line, saying that's a little bit crazy, and it all has to do with things that happened in the hospital that day. And at the end, there's a confrontation, and I really can't tell you much more. While you're watching the film, though, once you see the hospital scene, you're going to realize there's like two pieces to this puzzle, okay? And you've got them both in your hand. So nothing is really that surprising. It's just a fun ride along the way. And funny thing, like a dummy, what I did, I was watching on my iPad, and I guess I had my hand on the bottom, and I must have skipped to the end, so I saw the climax. I took a break, I came back, and I accidentally watched the climax, and I'm thinking, wow, this is the strangest dream yet. And then I was like, oh no, I just watched the climax of the movie. But it really didn't impact the film because I pretty much could see where it was going. It's one of those kind of films. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So there you go, guys. 3 made-for-TV horror movies you might want to check out at some point. One of them is a more true-to-life horrific story. One of them is goofy highway fun. And the other one is a perhaps somewhat dated but enjoyable dreamy mystery, we'll call it. What are some of your favorite made-for-TV movies? And give me your thoughts in the comments below. Also, go to that Instagram page and check out some of the check out that countdown. You'll get there's definitely some good hidden gems on there. That's what I'll say. Definitely some hidden gems. All right, later, guys.